Hello and welcome to Learning Excel 2016. My name is Mike Henry and this is Chapter 9, Video 8. And we're going to finish up our amortization schedule here. We're going to be doing two things here. We're going to find the cumulative interest payment and the cumulative principal payment. So basically what we're doing is we're looking at how much interest we're paying over a period of time, and in that period of time we could have multiple payments and we get to pick the starting payment and the ending payment. Now we're going to base ours on a year because that's usually what people look at, but we can base it on any amount of payment periods that we'd like. So we're going to finish off our amortization schedule here. And basically the last piece that we need to figure out here is the cumulative interest and the cumulative principal that we've been paying, and we're going to do it by year. You can do it by any time frame, but we're going to do ours particularly by the year. And this is just saying how much am I paying towards interest in a particular year, how much am I paying towards principal in a particular year. Important information for you to understand as a person making financial decisions. You'll see that we've set this up. Basically quarter 1 and quarter 4 mark the beginning and end payments of year 1, as is 5 and 7 mark the beginning and end payments for year 2. That's really important. Now you could do this in a lot of ways. You could just come up here, highlight these 4 cells, and then look over here and see that that's summing up as 18,659. And you could write that down. Now there's an actual formula for it, so we're going to use the formula and make things easy for us. So right here under interest, I use the formula. So we're using a cumulative interest and payments. So you'll see that I'll put in here CUM for a cumulative, and then right there at the top you can see IPMT for a cumulative payment. So I hit that and I'm good to go. Now I have my arguments that I'm going to use here. Now some of my stuff is way up top, so I have to scroll up here to find my rate, and because I'm using my rate and I'm going to copy this formula, I want to make sure I absolute it. Now for the number of payments I have to do the same thing. I scroll up top and find the number of payments. Again, I'm going to need to absolute that. Before I hit the F4 button though, I know that I want the present value, so I look over here, present value is in A5, and that way I don't have to scroll all the way up. I can just put in A5 and then hit F4 to get my dollar signs in place, or my absolutes. My starting period is right here, quarter 1, and my ending period I'm going to use here as quarter 4. Now I could have used any beginning and end point, but because we're basing it on the year, we want to use the beginning payment and the last payment of the year. Now, unlike before where you could always let the type be defaulted, you see I have to scroll down to type. This time it's bolded. I can't default this. I have to either put in a 0 or a 1. So I put in a 0 and I hit OK. And you can see there's that 18,659. That's my interest payment for the entire year if I add up all my payments. And so right here I'm going to figure out how much did I pay in principal for this year. And I use the same kind of formula. I start with the cumulative CUM, and you can see here I have the option of interest payment or principal. So I come down to the next one down, the principal, and I hit tab. So I'm working on the cumulative principal. And again I do this. I scroll up to find my rate, which is right here in D5. I know that here F5 is my net number of payments, and A5, so I'm not going to have to retype those. I can come or scroll up for them. I can just type F5 and then I can come here and type in A5 and save myself that scrolling. Now the starting period is still the same period, 1, and the ending period is still the last period that I'm paying for the year, which is payment 4. And then of course again type has to be filled in. It's the only two formulas that require type to be not defaulted. You have to type something in. So when I hit OK, you can see that I paid $72,000 for this, And if I want to look at how much did I pay for the entire year, I just take this and I add it to this, and you can see that in my first year I had to pay $90,000. Because we put the absolutes in the right place, I can actually copy this across for years there. And you can see that each year I'm paying the exact same amount. And this makes sense because every payment should be the same amount. So I'm paying the same amount every year for my loan. The difference is you can see the interest is going down while the principal is going up. And then the last thing we do to check is we do these as an auto sum across. And you can see that principal equals $400,000. That makes sense. We bought a $400,000 loan, and for the pleasure of borrowing $400,000, we paid the bank $54,563. That's the interest that we'll pay over the course of this entire loan. So we finished our amortization schedule with the two key formulas for the cumulative interest payment and the cumulative principal payment. And again, we looked at it as a yearly thing. You can look at it as any blocks. You could look at it in blocks of 5 years. If you were looking at a 30-year loan, you could look at it in blocks of 6 months, whatever is important for your financial analysis. These formulas allow you to quickly and easily pull out what you're paying for interest and what you're paying for principal. As you get out there in the financial world, understanding what you're paying, sometimes just redoing a loan at a much lower interest rate, the amount you'll save in your interest payment is worth the time and effort to do that.